connection is what it is. And I'm not talking about a connection where I connect you to an opportunity. I am talking about a spiritual connection that she felt with me and that I felt with her that I didn't feel with other people. But she knew in her spirit, even though she had never worked with me, based on the way that I presented myself, she knew that she could trust me.
Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode, we will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equity, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders. Black Business Matters podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer marketing and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. I'm Larvetta Lofton, your host and founder of the L3 Agency. Welcome to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Hey y'all, I am just enjoying this season merely because relationships are everything, as my next sister is about to just share about her, how relationships are everything for her and just how we met. So I'm really excited. But before we get started, I just hope that you have been enjoying this season, that you are gaining more clarity on the purpose of relationships, that you are understanding that we need all relationships with ourselves, relationships with our professional colleagues, relationships with our families, relationships with our mental, relationships from every point. And so I don't think we understand, like we just kind of make this blanket statement of relationships. It's so many layers to relationships and how we see them, whether that is based on how we were raised and then taking it back to how we show up in the world with our relationships. And so my next guest, I'm really excited. One is because I've had the pleasure of collaborating with her and certainly watch her business just soar and rise. And so just for her to be here is my PR, communications, marketing friend and sister. We can probably talk for hours today because this is what we do and live and breathe, and relationships are our jam. And so the fact that I get to bring her and share her process and just to be able to highlight her as the founder and the CEO of the PR Shoppe, which is an integrated marketing boutique firm headquartered in Chicago, specializing in strategic public relations, social media management, and small business integrated marketing consulting for startup and emerging businesses. And I didn't mention her name. Her name is Carolyn Fraser. So make sure you put a pin in that, because I promise you what I'm about to share with you about some of the brands that she's worked with, she is definitely someone you want to know. She and her team has worked on and supported PR campaigns for brands like Revlon, Visa, BET's Networks, Black Girls Rock, Layla Ali, and ABC's Dancing with the Stars, Curls and Switz Beats, and Bronx Charter School of the Arts. I can tell you that the girl is fierce when it comes to getting the word out from a PR standpoint. And she really takes pride in adding value to entrepreneurs and small business owners through her personal brand, where she teaches winning marketing strategies and advocates doing it afraid. Welcome to the show, Carolyn.
Thank you, Larvetta, and thank you so much for the warm introduction.
So let me just say this. This is where we come in, we tell our stories. But before we tell them how much, well, really, to be honest with you, I know you're a rock star at what you do. But I love to just say, Carolyn, who was Carolyn as a little girl? Like, she's done all this amazing stuff for all these amazing brands. But who is Carolyn as a little girl?
First and foremost, Larvetta, I do want to thank you so much for bringing me on to your platform and empowering Black businesses and sharing that we matter too. So thank you so much for this opportunity, my sister. You could have chosen anyone, but you chose me, and that's not lost on me. I'm so grateful for that. Carolyn, as a little girl, interestingly enough, I was just sent a video, and I don't know about any of y'all, but I don't have a lot of footage from when I was a child. I have some pictures. Unfortunately, I lost a good amount of my pictures in middle school when I was trying to create a collage, but a family member sent a video from when I was 8. And this was just a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it, and there was a specific clip where I was interviewed. My aunt interviewed me. And again, this is my first time seeing it. I was 8 years old, and really it brought me to tears because I forgot about that little girl. But when I was watching Larvetta, I realized that Carolyn of today is just basically that little girl, just older. And I've never changed who I have been. And there's statistics that share that in terms of our personality, it's formed in our earlier years. So the personality, the essence of who Carolyn is, it's the very same as the little girl as an 8-year-old. I would say the difference is that life has impacted me in a way where it shaped a lot of things for me, good and not so good. But the 8-year-old Carolyn, if you all know me, I say it plain. The way that I show up in the world is I really, really value authenticity and some solid communication as well. I am no respecter of persons. I'm strong on that. I respect the person that's walking on the street and begging just the same as I would respect the CEO of a global corporation, because we're human beings and we deserve respect. For me, I've always been that way. I've always been generous. I've always been curious. And my personality has gotten me into places that it would not have had I not been who I am. So that's Carolyn. That's Carolyn.
And that's awesome, Carolyn, because I think oftentimes you are the person, because you run a PR shop, you're the person capturing all the video. You're the person that's capturing the moments, right? And so it's interesting that someone captured you, because you typically, is the person that's telling everyone else what to do. I'm so glad that your aunt was able, one of your family members, able to send that to you, because I think that you said it's like that little girl is still there. I'm just an older version of her. I appreciate you sharing.
And a lot thicker. And a lot thicker.
That's all right. That's all right. It's funny, Carolyn, because I was and I say the story because most people can be like, no, you weren't. I was a fat baby. And my cousin called me Fat Betty. And it's funny because I know it's not nice, but that's what he called me, because I had literally these cute little, and I say cute little legs, but I had this belly, right? And so that was things. So a lot of stuff, my clothes wouldn't fit. And I said, today I still got to work on that part. It's always that midsection I got to work through. So it's just things that we have to constantly work through and work on. But back then I just chuckled and laughed, right? When we get older, we're like, oh my gosh, I look so fat. Whereas my cousin found joy in it, right? It was meant to just be able to smile and us laugh and be silly about it. So I just think about those moments and I'm like, of course, you say that now to a child is probably the worst thing to say. But during that time, I didn't see that. So I get it. So let's talk about these brands, the PR shop. How did you start in this business of helping to shape stories?
Absolutely. I will have to say that for the most part, I have been a communicator and a connector. Now, my communication has evolved and has improved over the years, but I've always been able to communicate my thoughts, my values, my beliefs. Again, for those who may know me, they know that I just say it straight. I say it straight, working with teams. One of my pros when we do our feedback is always that I'm communicative. I'm very clear and direct on what it is that I want to communicate. And then in terms of just being a connector, I truly value relationships. I believe that, especially in a business setting, that your solution is through someone who knows something, right? So for me, if I can connect you with something, or if I can help you to communicate what it is that you need to someone else, I got you. Don't even worry about it. And I actually used to do it for free, for free 99. I was one of those college students where, I went to college, first generation Guyanese American, and I knew that college was going or not going to college was not an option. I knew that I wanted to be an executive. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to work in communications. Again, I didn't know exactly what type of communication. So I went to school for business administration with a minor in communication studies and graduated with those degrees. But then I said, where do I want to take this? And one thing about Carolyn, I'm always doing something. There's something in my back pocket, whether it's public or not. And I remember when I first started working, I worked at a bank as a teller. And then on the side, I somehow got into event planning and started like planning events for my associates and for my peers and really liked it. And when most people think about public relations, when they think about integrated marketing, things like that, a lot of people, they compare it to like entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity, like red carpet, glitz and glam. And I was just like, I wonder if I'd be good at that. Again, I knew that communications is just something that I wanted to do. But before I stepped into PR, I actually dipped my toes into journalism because I also knew that when it came to writing and again, communication, I also knew that journalism, which was a big deal back in the early 2000s, was a way to get in the door and ended up interning at the Source magazine. That might date some of y'all who can resonate with that.
Yeah, there was no such thing as Source. I agree. I'm with you on that. Yes. And it was a magazine that everybody wanted to pick up. So I
Yes.
want the world to know that it wasn't like, ooh, it was like, oh, did you get the latest issue of Source?
Right. And I actually secured that internship opportunity through a relationship. It was through a radio show that I was a part of that I volunteered for as a teenager. And one of the staff members was a writer for The Source, introduced me, went up there, met folks, and applied for an internship, got that internship. And then those relationships were able to evolve into other things. Loretta, I think you know that I'm a Midwest girl. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I was actually born in New York. So I ended up moving to New York and really just starting over after my internship in journalism ended. I had moved back to Kansas City and then I decided New York was it. I wanted to learn PR. Again, it was just like, I think I'll be good at this. Let me try it. Long story short, I had to really start over. I sold everything that I had, everything. And I had about $4,000 in my pocket. Moved to New York back in 2009, started from scratch because they said all of this internship experience that you have had over the years and during college, that's not going to fly here in New York. So at the age of 26, I interned for a couple of agencies, ended up landing a job, full-time job, worked that job for a while, got recruited to one of the top PR agencies in the nation. I'm not going to name that agency, but I will say that they used to represent Michael Jackson back in the day. So I'll let you go do your research. And that environment was so toxic. And I knew it was a toxic environment, Larvetta, because years prior, I wanted to work at the agency and like they interviewed me and I did not get the job. I was actually discriminated against. But then years later, they circled back with me, different team, and like offered me a job on the spot. So I knew it was toxic, but I knew it was a top PR agency. It was the IT agency. I ended up lasting not even a month, Larvetta, at that firm. Yeah. Yeah. So I was fired from that firm because there were some toxic and abusive practices that were going on. And I filed a formal complaint with HR. And they did let me go. However, I think they knew that they were wrong. And at the time, I think I was just so naive. I didn't know that I could probably seek like legal recourse for it. But what they did is they ended up giving me unemployment. And that was the time that I said, you know what? Maybe I can do this on my own because this ain't it. And what I don't want to do is 10, 15 years later, I'm at the top of my game, but I'm regretting that I never tried to do this on my own. I never tried to launch my own agency and I don't want to live with regret. So with like $1,000 from my dad and an opportunity to generate publicity for my sister's beauty event in Houston, I was able to secure clients from that event who saw the press. And my first clients were from Houston. And I just really grew from there.
So let me say this. Here's what I hear, and I'm telling you is that You literally work for this top PR firm and they didn't appreciate you, didn't value you because of the toxic environment. And then you said, okay, this is the time. And I find that a lot of people, when they're undervalued, they get fired or let go, that is the catalyst to begin entrepreneurship. A lot of times we're pushed out for us to do it. It's not always like, oh, I'm thinking I'm just going to let this go. That doesn't happen most of the time. I think
Not with us. And you know what
exactly.
I mean by that? Not with us.
Exactly. It's never that. So I find it that every time I get on and I have these conversations, I'm always amazed that it's, oh my gosh, I was let go or I was overlooked for promotion or, something of that nature. So let's talk through how relationships have played a role in you building your boutique firm here in Chicago.
My business has been built off of the shoulders, off of the backs of the relationships that I have formed over the years. So the PR shop, we turned 10 in 2023. Praise God.
Wow, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. And when I relocated to Chicago, the agency wasn't even a year old yet. So I know we're talking about relationships with people. I also want to throw in the relationship that I had with God because when I first started the PR shop, remember how I started? I was just like, what? I'm already down, so I can only go up from here. What is there to lose? But I did not have a plan. And I was living in arguably one of the most expensive cities in the world. And the relationships that I did have there, anyone will tell you that a 20-something-year-old professional living in New York, like it's party time. It's party city. My friends, they had 9 to 5s. We would always gather after work in the city or in Brooklyn and like live it up. That's just what you do. You work and you play. And I knew in order for the PR shop to be successful, I needed to turn things around. I knew that before even really realizing that. I ended up relocating to Chicago just on a whim. I had one friend living here. And miraculously, she had availability in her 2-bedroom apartment. She had a relationship that ended. And I said, I'll come down for a few months. I'll check Chicago out. And if I like it, I'll stay. And that is how I got to Chicago, Larvetta. I don't know if you knew that story.
I don't think I knew that story, Carolyn. And I feel like, oh my gosh, we learn something about each other every time we see each other. That's the one thing that I love about relationships. They're constantly evolving. So no, I didn't know.
Yes, yes. So that's how I got here. And then what I learned about living and working in Chicago was that when you live in New York, it is literally a city full of transplants. So even though New York may have a tough or a harsh reputation sometimes, once you really live there and get assimilated into the culture, especially as a professional, you understand that everyone is there and like you kind of help people out. It's really big. But what I learned about living in Chicago was on a surface level, and this is no shade. So, Lavette, I know this is your city, but on a surface level, people were friendly, people were nice, but people wasn't really trying to help a sister out unless they really knew me.
Yeah, but Carolyn, that's
And
how Chicago is.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like you have to put in work with these relationships here. And like people weren't just willing to like, oh, you new here, sister. All right, let me help you out. I know so and so, I know, No, that did not happen. So I had to develop my own relationships and really like nurture those relationships before I started feeling that I was like connected. And before those relationships started to evolve into like business opportunities. But what I did, being the new kid on the block, is I went on LinkedIn. I made sure that I was a part of a couple of PR associations and organizations, and I attended those. I connected with people. I believe that's how I connected with our good friend Cleandria, who introduced us, Larvetta, through one of those ColorCom events. I met one of the, I would say, most influential and impactful people that have been a part of my business life through a networking event. And that's Robin Beeman. And Robin is like the godmother of PR. Like, I love Robin. She has helped me. She has poured into me. She has given me business, long standing and sustainable business opportunities. I was just on a call with Robin today about another business opportunity. But those relationships came from me putting myself out there, really stepping through the shame of being like having to start over and, not knowing anyone. And I rolled my sleeves up and I put in the work and I got to meeting people. And another part that I want to make really quickly, Larvetta, is when people meet me, you can tell like I'm not shy by any means necessary. But what people don't really know about me is I consider myself to be an ambivert, where I can appear outgoing, which I am, but I really appreciate those like intimate conversations and connections a lot more. So you probably won't really see me at a networking event where I feel like, Larvetta, you paint the town. Remember when I first met you, I was like, oh my gosh, you literally know everybody.
Everybody says that. And I just crack up and I'm like, no, I do not. I don't know this person. They're like, Larvetta, you know everybody. And I'm like, I don't. I know. But okay, I'm going to let y'all say that. But I don't. I really don't. I really don't.
And I know you remember me saying, Larvetta, you literally know everybody. And for me, in a way, it was very admirable because I needed to stretch myself to like establish connections as well. Because when you are an entrepreneur and your bread and butter and your livelihood is through like business and relationships, you have to put yourself out there. So for anyone listening where like you are not naturally an outgoing person, or you might be shy or introverted, or you might be new or whatever, you might be in a space where it's really hard for you to get up and get out. Just remember that you need to push yourself outside of your comfort zone to really get to know people, because at the end of the day, as business owners, when we meet other business owners and we can address a need that they have or resolve that need, or maybe we know someone who can do it, like that's what grows relationships, being able to support each other in a way that's really helpful.
And Carolyn, I want to say this because I really, really believe that the world doesn't get this part. And I say this because when you think about like your top agencies, right, Carolyn, you think about Leo Burnett, right? You think about DDB, Needham. You think about these top agencies. When you go back and you look at it, you think to yourself like, oh, they must have been, and not to say that they're not brilliant. They must have, like, what did they do to build this? They all said, you know what? I had a conversation with blah, 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 blah. And we decided we were going to start an agency. It's not like, oh my gosh, we worked on this campaign. It really, like, if you take to Tom Burrell, you take Tom Burrell in Chicago, right? Next to Michelle Flowers, RJ Dale. These were top Black agencies back in the day, of many of which I've worked for and with. And so when you think about that, and you think about just you at the PR shop, Robin Beeman Incorporated, you think about the work we do, literally, ultimately, we're sitting down and we're just like, okay, who do I know that can make this happen? And so that's the part that makes it an agency. It's Carolyn. But what makes Carolyn an agency is that she can pick up the phone and just about call anybody that she needs, because she has developed a relationship with somebody that's going to connect her to someone else. When they think of agency, I don't think that they understand that's the big distinction. And you said it, it's that connector. And so I can connect us to media, the right media. You could say I can connect you to the right message. And so I definitely think that when you say it from the standpoint of relationships, of course, I knew you would get people to understand that it is the relationship, but it's also that connection part. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I think connection is how you build and foster that relationship. It's that, and understanding it. And the reality of it all is, you started off by saying this, but it starts with a relationship with God. It's that. And so making sure that that is at the forefront of it. And so I do want to say, because we've been talking about relationships and understanding that relationships, as we say all the time, relationships are a currency, and understanding how we're able to do what we do. But Carolyn, what I do want to ask you is that, do you have any, like, I'm going to say time where it was strictly a relationship? And when I say a relationship, I mean, they don't really know you. They just may have known you through someone else, but that relationship developed after that encounter, where someone said, hey, oh, I know her, let's make it happen. And that relationship, let me break it down. a relationship where you have with someone else who connects you to someone else, and that relationship is now nurtured. And it turns.
Yeah, I would honestly have to go back to my relationship with Robin Beeman, because the way that I met Robin Beeman was actually, if I'm not mistaken, through Cleandria. And it was one of those things where Clee knew Robin and might have shared, like, oh, I met Carolyn. She owns a PR agency. And with Beeman being so influential and having a long standing presence here in Chicago, I think when you live that agency life, you're always looking for reputable sister agencies that you can work with, that you can collaborate with. And when I met Beeman, I didn't really know her. I didn't really know her, but there was something that she told me, Larvetta, that I will never forget. She told me about an opportunity, and this is one of the opportunities that I ended up securing with another business partner. Talk about relationships, Antoinette. But she told me about an opportunity with one of her clients where they were looking for an agency for another one of their brands. And she's telling me about this, and I'm like, I'm interested in it. And she was like, okay, I will put you in touch with the brand manager, and this is what you need to do, and this is how they work. And literally just started to like give me the lay of the land. And I remember saying to her, Robin, I was like, but you don't really know me. Like, you trust me to like introduce me and she was like, I don't know you, but I know your spirit. When I tell you, Larvetta, that and I have chills right now. When I tell you that I dropped the mic and I could have like broke down just crying, it was true. Going back to what you said about connection, because connection is not something that can be like explained. Connection is what it is. And I'm not talking about a connection where I connect you to an opportunity. I am talking about a spiritual connection that she felt with me and that I felt with her that I didn't feel with other people. But she knew in her spirit, even though she had never worked with me, based on the way that I presented myself, she knew that she could trust me to refer me to her clients. And because of that, I ended up managing one of those accounts, one of her clients' brands, which, obviously was in my client for 5 years. For 5 years. And that client alone, the amount of revenue that I was able to secure from that client, it bolstered my agency for years. And to this day, as I said, I just got off the phone with her this morning about another opportunity. So when you talk about relationships, you talk about connections, it's a real thing. And it's also about nurturing relationships. Let me be clear. This is not a one-sided relationship. This is not a one-sided relationship. So there's a lot of different nuggets, right? When we're talking about relationships, even though Robin is extremely like senior to me, her business has been here for a long time and she is a mentor of mine. I am also her colleague. I have also given back to Robin in many ways where our relationship is a mutual relationship. Robin knows that she can call on me if it's something that's last minute or something where she needs an extra hand, and she knows that I'm going to do it right. And I'm not going to charge her an arm and a leg for it too. So relationships are also a give and a take. And Robin knows that when she refers business to me, that it's going to be handled. It's going to be executed on a level that she appreciates.
Absolutely. For our listeners, we're just speaking of other agencies that are PR agencies, that are women led, that are Black led in Chicago, and they're collaborating. And so I think what you're also sharing is that we can collaborate. These relationships turn into collaboration opportunities. And I think we have to get past that piece. So I love that because I love Robin with all my heart. And I totally agree with you that she definitely is the godmother.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she is the godmother in this world of PR and marketing. We've definitely talked in this space. But I do want to take this opportunity because, we ask everyone on the show why Black businesses matter. And so in this space, you are a Black business leader that shapes stories for brands and for small businesses. Why does a Black business like yourself, why does it matter? But then the other part is, why should people continue to support it? Because, we hear this all the time, and I'm only challenging you because we're in the holiday season and we know that this is a time for people to sometimes set, rest, and take moments to reflect. And so I want to ask you, why do Black businesses matter?
Absolutely. So Black businesses matter. We matter because a couple of reasons. The first reason is Black people, the Black population, and I'm specifically speaking about here in the US, like we make up a good amount of the population, a good amount of spending. No shade to other cultures, but we are the culture. We're the front runner when it comes to cultural impact. Let's be honest, especially when it comes to social media, which is a space that I work in, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to telling stories, when it comes to music and sports and entertainment, the list goes on, right? So we matter because we are the leaders in many, many, many different cultural arenas. And Black people have shaped the country. I'm not going to get deep because now's not the time to get deep. But I will say that we have such a strong footprint here in US culture and even abroad. We have to matter. Not only that, but, and I feel like this might answer both of your questions, we need to continue to be supported because nobody, and I'm specifically speaking about like marketing communications, nobody can sell a story like a Black person. We also add a different perspective when it comes to Black spending. One thing about Black people, we gonna spend now. So I think that it would behoove other businesses and other racial groups to connect with Black businesses because this is not just a BLM hype anymore. I think that BLM and what happened in 2020 that did help to catapult Black businesses and give us more exposure. And I appreciate that. But we are here and we are doing amazing things. And if any organization or business is wise and they're smart, they're going to continue to lean into Black businesses to finally allow us to have a seat at the table. Most times we just pull up. It's also nice to have a seat at the table. And even though we have a ways to go, things are shifting because they're starting to get it that while we may not be at the top or at the very, very head of things as decision makers, we're right there influencing decisions, influencing the culture, and making ish happen. We're the ones with boots on the ground, having these conversations, sharing these stories, going back and reporting what's happening to the higher ups. And it's just like, if you got good sense, you're going to want to continue to support Black businesses and you're going to want us to actually lead a lot more as well. Because we know in these boardrooms, we know who's still there. And it's a long way to go. But if they're looking at data, then they're going to continue to allow us to do what it is that we need to do.
That's good. That's good. And I recognize that, I was, oh my gosh, I can't think of the attorney, but renowned civil rights attorney. Yes. And so one of the things that I love, HBCU, Black law firm, and I said, that's what you just said. Like, that when you get a Black business, like, you're going to win. Literally. Like, that's when I think of that, I think about him. Like, you're going to win. You're going to win. And he has a law firm. I think from that standpoint, as soon as you said it, I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? When you bring that up, I'm like, I'm sure you may have seen his story on Netflix, but when I was looking at it, I didn't finish all of it. And I said, it's amazing to me that that really wasn't where he was going into. He kind of landed in there. So I think that it's powerful. But when you do, I like that you said it, when you get with a Black business, you're going to win. And I think that's the part that people should always think about when you deal with Black businesses, that there's so many amazing Black businesses that do amazing work. So Carolyn, we asked this question. I just want, if you're listening, I want to make sure you all know this is Carolyn Fraser. No as I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I want to make sure people don't call you Robin, Carolyn. So I want to make sure people, they're just tuning in and they're like, wait, who's right? So Carolyn Fraser.
Shout out to Robin. Robin is the third party on this interview. I love it.
Oh, Robin is here, y'all, but she's not here. She's in Chicago. But we have Carolyn Fraser of the PR Shop with us, who's been just sharing her story of being the CEO of a PR firm in Chicago. Carolyn, we want to ask you, what brings you joy?
Oh my God. That's a very easy answer for me. I am the queen of just getting a good nap in. The older I get and the more the inundated that I get with life, I love silence. I love a nice, dark, quiet room, warm covers and sheets and blankets. I have a hammock in my house that I will just zen out. But just what gives me joy is just peace and being able to just take naps just undisturbed. What else brings me joy is the freedom and the opportunity to be able to travel, to visit loved ones and friends and see the world. That definitely brings me joy as well.
That's awesome. So, Carolyn, let's talk about what you got going on that will help small businesses in 2023.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, I mentioned earlier that the PR shop, we will be turning 10 in 2023. And again, coming from a startup to where I literally didn't know what the hell I was doing, y'all. Literally, but was like, all right, God, I know that I can write. I know that I can sell, I can tell a story. So let me make it do what it do. And, now approaching 10 years, it's truly a blessing. With that, I also have a personal brand where I motivate and inspire entrepreneurs and goal getters to just push past fear. And I teach different marketing strategies. We discuss mindset and all of those things. So I'm going to be leaning into my personal brand a bit. I am also going to be leveling up the PR shop to where if you know anything about marketing, PR has shifted a lot. So we're going to do some rebranding and leaning into the services that we have even more. So not only PR and media relations, but also strategic marketing consulting for those small businesses and startups that just need helping hand, a roadmap to success, just helping them to come up with marketing plans and strategies. I also have a fractional CMO service that I am rolling out and I've been testing, which has been great. And that's more so like a right hand to the small business owner where they may not have the resources to be able to hire a full-time marketing firm, but I can be there to sort of hold their hands and to be that sounding board for them. And again, helping with strategy. And then I might have shared that we also do social media management. So those are the spaces that I'll be playing in next year. I also plan on doing some more speaking and then doing some vacationing. Next year is the big 40. 2023 is the big 40. I am planning to enter my 40s just oh so fabulously. And there's some things that I want to check off of my bucket list. So that's what I will prayerfully be up to on 2023.
There you have it. There you have it. She is. And I say this, Caroline, because I forget. I was like, you're entering into 40 and I'm entering into 50 the whole decade. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I do want to say this as you were talking. I do want to connect you to someone who is looking for like a CMO. So I'm glad you're moving into that kind of space because there was a request made and this awesome sister friend of mine is just dynamic in everything she does. So I love her. So I'm definitely going to connect you because that's
Yay!
what you do.
See, relationships, here we go.
There we go. There you have it. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for being a guest of Black Businesses Matter, but more importantly, just saying yes to us so that we can share the good news of Black businesses all over the world. And we got a chance to feature you. So this was awesome, Carolyn. It was so much fun to have you here.
My pleasure, Larvetta. Thank you so much for having me. It has truly been an honor. And thank you for promoting Black businesses because guess what? We do matter. Period. Period.
I mean, she just said it, period. Like, we don't need a comma, just period. Period. Black businesses matter. Period. I just want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. So I have not done this on any of my episodes, but I'm going to do it for this episode because it is the holiday season and we are all getting gifts for folks. Perhaps we are binge watching, I don't know, or maybe we're binge shopping, whatever it is, no judgment here. So I am challenging you. We have merchandise that we have. We have sweatshirts, we have mugs, we have t-shirts. And the reason why we launched the merch was strictly because we felt like it was important for us to be able to advocate for Black businesses. When we walk in the room and people see us with that, they know that they're in good company when we walk into Black businesses. And it's amazing. Someone's, oh, I like that. Me too. And it just creates a conversation. So Black History Month is coming up. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you work for a company, challenge your company to say, hey, support a Black business, maybe buy some of their sweatshirts and have a Black History Day where you can celebrate some of the Black businesses. I don't know, but what we do know is that we have to challenge the world to make sure that Black businesses matter, as Carolyn said, period. And so I'm challenging you, go to our website, which is the l3agency.com. You can go to the shop button and you can order a sweatshirt. You can order a mug. You can order a t-shirt. I am saying this because it is important to make sure that we hold businesses and all American businesses accountable for making sure that Black businesses are part of their supplier portal. And so I just want us to challenge that because the new year is approaching and these should be new goals that American businesses, that's what I'm learning, American businesses should be making a practice of supporting Black service businesses, Black product businesses, Black retail businesses, you name it. And so that's going to be very important. We're going into election year. And so we have to make sure that Black businesses are maintained, that they're sustained, and that they continue to scale because that is necessary for economic growth. So I'm excited. We're going to be hosting our first live event in Chicago, February 16th. Put it on your calendar. I can't wait to share who we're going to have to speak on the state of economic inclusion for Black businesses. If you have a Black business, if you support a Black business, if you work for a Black business, if you want to start a Black business, or you just love to be in the room with Black excellence, then you should be there. February 16th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to have a ball. We want people to get dressed up. We are going to be the talk of town on that day for Black history, and we're going to be celebrating excellence. We're going to be celebrating advancement, and we're going to be talking about inclusion in the economic space. Again, I'm just going to tell you all, I've never done this. So this is coming out of my comfort zone that I need to share the things that we have brewing for 2023. So take a moment, put it in your calendar, be on the lookout for more information on how you can attend. It will be a ticket event because we want the right group of people to come and be in the room. But I promise you that we're going to bring some of our old guests back. We're going to bring some new guests too. So stay tuned. And I just want to say happy holidays and thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us this week on Black Businesses Matter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you will never miss a show. You can also follow us on social media at the L3 Agency and at Larvetta Speaks. If you love the show, leave a rating so that we can continue to bring you impactful episodes. You can also take the pledge and order our merch at our website at the l3agency.com. THEL3agency.com. Thanks for listening and see you next week.